Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode, and welcome back to day 107 of the Bridge to Mastery. You've been here for 106 days so far, 107 today. And we're talking about a powerful concept, and the concept is about how you walk now. The truth is, you don't wait for belief to happen until you act powerful. You act in that way, and then the belief comes. And we have given data points, we've given proof, we've given examples of the fact that we are consistent, and we are giving examples that we are efficacious. So we are efficacious, let me say that. Right? And today we're going to talk about that. We're going to spend some time talking about how you show up, how do you move, what is the space that you find yourselves in, and how do we adopt a posture that says that this is where we're supposed to be. We're talking about how you act like you believe. You act like you've grown. You act like you are now a different person in your everyday life. Thank you for joining me. Remember, consistency is your power, and we're moving from consistency to competence and capability, and we are walking across this bridge to mastery. Let's go ahead, let's get started. I'll see you on the walk. All right, day 107. Can you believe it? Those numbers continue to amaze me. 107 days. And we're continuing to grow, we're continuing to move, we're continuing to expand, continuing to get better as we move from one space to the next. And this has been an incredible journey as we continue walking across this bridge, this bridge to mastery. And, you know, we've all been taught and we've all come to believe that sometimes you have to believe before things happen. You have to believe before we can begin seeing results. And life has taught us, and change has taught us, that sometimes you got to act before the belief comes. You got to act like it before it's fully ingrained. You got to act like it because you know it's true. You got to act like it because you've already got proof. And you have shown up for 100 days, 100 plus days now. And so self-efficacy, if you remember our working definition, is the evidence-based belief that I have that I can make changes, that I can make decisions, that by being consistent, I can chart the course and destiny down which I walk and where I end up. And so self-efficacy is already has power, already has proof. But sometimes our belief is of such that our posture doesn't project that. And so we're talking about how do you show up when you walk into a room, when you talk to someone, when you are in a meeting. How do you present yourself? Are you presenting yourself as someone who is efficacious, someone who is consistent, someone who believes that they are, or are you not? And if we don't believe yet, how do we position ourselves, and what do we do? How do we act in that position while the belief is being generated, while the belief is growing? So every day that you've shown up, every day you've said, "Hey, I'm good. I'm here," even when it didn't feel good, even when you were tired, even when you weren't quite sure if it was working, even when there was doubt. And now, because you've done that, because you acted, come on now, because you acted as someone who is consistent, and you did the behavior until you felt that way. Look at you now, 107 days. And so the behavior, the posture came before the belief. And so you'll find that in a lot of areas in your life, in your exercising. All right, so pay attention to our series that's coming up. When you behave in that way, when you show up, when you're on the court, when you're on the walk, when you are in the pool, when you're on the rowing machine, when you're on the elliptical, and you're acting in that way, then if you continue doing that, then the belief comes. And so what posture do you find yourselves in? You're not just acting consistent now after 100 days. You are someone who is consistent. Notice, and now you have proof. Now, isn't that the beauty? Isn't that beautiful? So not only does the behavior coming before belief help build the belief, but the behavior that comes before belief now gives evidence to the belief. You see that? So sometimes we negate that process by saying, well, I got to work on my belief. I got to work on my understanding. It doesn't quite sit with me like that's going to be what it is. And so I'm not going to start moving until I actually buy into this, that it's actually what it's going to be. And by doing that, what we do is we negate the evidence that's being built by those days when we struggled through, the days when we showed up, when we didn't want to, the days when we woke up when we were tired, the days when it rained and we still went. Each of those days, as you heard me say in our previous series, each of those days was adding another piece to the puzzle. So when you add that piece to the puzzle, it is, and now when I say piece to the puzzle, it is building the structure, but it's also building a plethora of evidence that this is now who we are. So sometimes the behavior has to come until the belief is there, right? And you're giving evidence, you're giving data points to your self-efficacy. So self-efficacy isn't theory, right? Self-efficacy is practice. It isn't you dreaming. It isn't you just having an idea. It isn't you just imagining. It is practice. Belief is a muscle. Just like if you go to the gym and you are working out, and every time you go, you add more movement, you add tension, you add more weights, you add more control, and those muscles grow, they get stronger, they get bigger. Just like that, belief is a muscle. And so belief has to be exercised. It has to move. It has to work in a space that requires belief. One of the things I'm teaching my son, we started working out together just recently. And one of the things I'm teaching him is that tension, controlled tension and recovery is what builds muscles. So sometimes we are building, we're bodybuilding, we're lifting, and what happens is we do the contraction. So we lift, we pull the muscle, and then we just let the weights fall. Yeah. But it is actually the controlled tension that occurs that helps us to get those muscles in the space where they need to be. Now, this is not, one of those deadlifts where you hit lifting, whatever number of pounds, a crazy number, right? I'm talking about as you are toning, as you're building, as you're progressing, it is control, on the tension under control, that gives us the biggest benefit. And so as we are working to believe, the belief has to be put under tension. It has to be practiced. It has to work. It has to have something that you're trying to believe. Just like consistency, right? There was something we were working on. We were working on those 100 days. You didn't think you could do it. You didn't know if you can do it. You doubted maybe. But here you are, 107 days later, and you have done it. So self-efficacy grows. It grows every time that you say no to something that is not aligned with your purpose. Every time you say no to something that you know that has the potential to derail you. Every time you say no to that candy or the cookie. And also every time you say yes to things. Every time you say yes, then I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk. Every time you said yes, then I'm going to go to the gym. Every time you said yes, I'm going to drink the water. Every time you say yes, I'm going to check my blood sugars and take my medicine. Every time you say yes, I'm going to get on that scale. Every time you said yes, you are building, you're putting another block in your self-efficacy. So it is practiced. It is evidence-based. It is not just a theory. Every time you say yes to something that aligns with your future, aligns with your North Star, your brain says, okay, this is what we do. This is who we are. This is how we're working. This is how we roll now, right? You carry yourself, every time you carry yourself in a way that demonstrates that, hey, I have belief in me. I have belief in my abilities, my capabilities. These aren't just disciplines. These aren't just things that we check off on the box. These are signals to your brain that, hey, this is what we do. Remember, our brain, and what I love about my brain, and yours too, is that our brain never wants to be wrong. It never wants to be in discord with what we're telling it. So anything that you're telling your brain, any way you behave, your brain is trying to find evidence for that. And if we tell ourselves that we can't, then the brain's going to find evidence that we can't. If we tell ourselves that we will and we do and we can, the brain's going to find evidence for that. So when we behave in a way, when we act in a way, when we carry ourselves in a way, when we have a particular posture that we assume, the brain says, yeah, this is who we are. Now let's find evidence to support that. And let's put your mental thoughts, let's put your behavior, let's make your muscles, let's make your head stand up, let's make your chest go out. So the brain is doing a lot of that work based on the posture that we've taken, right? So what it's saying, when you do those things, when you act in that way, you're saying that I am the kind of person who keeps going. I'm the kind of person that is successful. I'm the kind of person that is efficacious. So whatever you're doing, the posture that you take has a direct influence on your brain and ultimately your body, and then ultimately how you show up. And that has an influence on your success, right? So you want to make sure that you're showing up in that way. So there are micro habits that lock in our beliefs. Micro habits that lock in our beliefs. So what are some of those that we can do? So we are creatures of habits. We are efficacious. We are consistent. These are all mantras, if you will. These are all statements. These are all things that we want our brain to either learn or unlearn. And so the things that we tell it all feed into that. So what do efficacious people do that help their brains to either feed in or to reprogram some of the beliefs and ultimately their posture? Well, one, efficacious people plan ahead. They don't just let things happen to them. I was talking to someone recently, and they were telling me about all the things that they do on their job. And usually, when I talk to people in the office, I'll ask them, well, what do you do? And they'll tell me, and I'll ask them, describe their day, and they'll go through and tell me about the plans that they have for the day and how they get into the day. They come in, and they have a structure of what they do. They check their email first, or they may read a memo first, and then they go through and they check to see what jobs are left from yesterday, what did anybody need. So anyway, so there's a whole structure that they go through. And I'll say to them, well, tell me about the structure for your non-work stuff, like your personal life, like your personal development, like your health. what's the plan? And they're like, well, I really don't have one. Well, because we spend about a third of our time at work, that's great that we have a plan for work, but guess where we're spending the other 2/3? In our lives. And if we don't have a space, if we don't have a plan for those things, then that becomes a problem. And so efficacious people don't just let things happen to them. They plan ahead. They see where things are going to go. They know what their schedule is like. They have a space that provides structure. Remember, rhythm, alignment, and structure? That structured part requires planning ahead. It can't just be left to chance. There has to be some way of looking at my life to make sure that the things I'm doing are in alignment. Right? I think I mentioned to you that, or I mentioned somewhere, that there was something that I was asked to do recently, and it was an amazing opportunity. I would have loved to do it, but as I thought about it, I realized that it did not fit. As amazing as it was, it did not fit with what I needed to be doing at that moment, at that time. And so I had to say no. And when I did that, I had some questions about, well, why? And it wasn't that I did not like the thing. It wasn't that what I was being asked to do was bad. It was just that it did not, at the time, fit with where I needed to be. And so you will find that if you are planning ahead, then you'll be able to see some of those things. Otherwise, as things come to you, if you're not planning, you'll grab things that you probably don't need to have any business doing. Even though those things aren't wrong, they're not bad, they just are not where you need to be. Efficacious people also talk to themselves with respect. Ooh, here's a good one. We talked about the inner coach and the words that the inner coach uses. So efficacious people don't berate themselves. They don't beat themselves up. Now here's a simple thing that I had to deal with. So I would do something and maybe get it wrong or miss something, and the words that came out of my mouth was like, duh, right? So if you translate duh, what does that mean? That means, man, you stupid. Man, you didn't know that? Man, how could you have gotten that wrong? Man, why didn't you see that? Right? So there are all these things, even in the sounds that we make to ourselves. And efficacious people don't do that. Efficacious people are able to see an error, are able to process that error, and are able to say to themselves, hey, which we'll talk about here in just a minute, they're able to say to themselves, okay, that's what happened. Now, I'll tell you, so I actually did this video already, this episode. I was out walking earlier, and I did it, walked for about 45 minutes. I was excited, I was doing it, and then I got back to the office, and I'm downloading the video, and it looks great, because the sun is out, see that, right? The sun is out, but there's no sound. So I have no idea what happened. I can't tell you, because I've got the mic on, the mic's plugged in, and there was no sound. So a beautiful video. I guess I could have lip synced it or dubbed it, but what would I say, right? And so I spent some time in my head kind of going over that thing, and finally this conversation came back to me. And it says, look, it happened. I'm not dwelling on that. And I'm not going to berate myself. I'm going to talk to myself kindly. I'm not going to berate me for whatever happened. Let's move on. So efficacious people talk to themselves with respect. Efficacious people also course correct quickly. And that's the idea I was just telling you about. I could have spent a long time just saying, man, what's going on? Why does this happen? Blah, 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 right? Going on and on and on. And I could have sat there and tried to figure out, well, maybe there's a way I can do this. You know what I did? Grabbed my hat, got my camera, and here we are. We're back out. Course correct. Because the time I would have wasted trying to go back and forth about what happened, why didn't it work. Guess here we are, right? So we're out here, we're talking again, and you guys are getting the benefit of that. So course correct. Efficacious people course correct quickly. Efficacious people show up when they say they're going to show up. They show up with their A game. They show up on time. They show up in the place they say they're going to show up. When we don't show up for ourselves and for the commitments that we have, our brain notes that. Our brain notes that. And then when you say, man, I'm going to do this for myself. Now, this has nothing to do with other people at this point. The brain says, well, you know, you've already proven that this is not what you do. This is not how you roll. You're inconsistent. You're not trustworthy. And so we extrapolate the things that happen in other spaces to ourselves. I would, if I could, I would show up at places an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours ahead of time. We were recently traveling to London. So we left Huntsville. No, what did we do? We went to Nashville and took the plane from Nashville, got to Atlanta, and then from Atlanta we caught the plane to London, which is great. Well, we could have driven to Atlanta from here, 4 hours maybe. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. So anyway, so we took the plane, and as I was talking to my wife, she said, hey, we're planning this trip, and these are the tickets, these are the plans. So we would arrive in Atlanta at, I think it was 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. And then our flight to London wasn't until 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Right, so actually we arrived at 9. So it was a 9-hour layover. And you know what? I was perfectly fine with that. Because I got to stay in the airport. I was on my computer. I got to people watch, got to relax. Now that's my time. That's my time. That's my kind of traveling. I don't like rushing in. I don't like, you know when you rush in and you're the last one on the plane, and they've been calling you, and everybody looks at you like you're crazy. That's not me, right? So I like to show up on time, and so efficacious people show up on time, and efficacious people act before they feel like it. So I don't feel like walking, but I'm gonna walk. I don't feel like watching my diet, but I'm gonna watch my diet. I don't feel like prepping, but I'm gonna prep. I don't feel like going to bed, but I'm gonna go to bed. I don't feel like drinking water, but I'm gonna drink water. Efficacious people act like they're supposed to, even though they don't feel like it. And all of this builds a library of data. It builds data points in black and white. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up, and you have to be consistent. Let me say that again. You don't have to be perfect, but you have to show up, and you have to be consistent. The only people who fail are the people who give up or the people who don't show up. You only fail if you don't show up or if you give up. Otherwise, we succeed or we grow, we learn. That is the premise that we're working on. Everything that happens, every opportunity, every non-successful activity that you're involved in, notice the words I'm using, is a growth, it's a success opportunity, or it's a growth opportunity. But if you don't show up, you can't succeed. And if you give up, you can't succeed. So show up on time, be consistent, because efficacious people, they plan ahead, Efficacious people, they talk to themselves with respect. They course correct quickly. They show up on time and they act before they feel like acting. All right, so as we continue walking, I want you to consider a few questions. All right, ponder these as we continue our discussion and our talk. One, what is one habit that has built a part of you? What is one habit that you've built maybe that reminds you that you can trust yourself? I can think of one. I can think of, oh, me. Let me, all right, I can think of one. 100 days. Woohoo! 100 days. All right, what's that? What's one habit? Consistency. I, years ago when I started my channel, had to make a decision about when I was going to go live. And so on my channel, so Monday nights at 7 p.m. Central is what I decided. And there were a few things that came up that really tested that. But we're going to be 5 years now coming up here in just a few months. And in that time, aside from the week that we take in January and the week in December, and unless something happened, we've been going live every Monday for the last 5 years without exception. Right. So we were on vacation when just a little while ago we talked about being in London and so forth. And so for those weeks, we had something that was there that wasn't live. But other than that, you can tell where I'm going to be Monday night, 7 o'clock. That's a habit that I formed that says I can trust myself. You don't see the news changing the day and the night whenever they go live, right? It's the same time. You may not be watching, but somebody say, hey, when is the news coming on? You can tell them because it's the same time, same day, same time, without exception. And that is consistency. You can trust that. So what's one habit that you've built that says that you can trust yourself? What do you do on a daily basis? Hold on a second. All right, I'm back. So what do you do on a daily basis that reinforces who you are, who you have become? This goes back to our routine. What do you do on a daily basis? Remember, we don't succeed, not because we don't have vision or drive or motivation or even know-how, because we don't have structure. So what's your structure? What do you do on a daily basis that reinforces this person that you have become? What is it? What's your routine? What's your morning routine? Do you bookend? What's one behavior that you want to add that matches this new version of you? What's one new thing that you can have? One of my new things is, we're transitioning from our walking series, and the question is, what do we do next? What do I do next? How do we go? What are we working on? And so you'll see coming up here in a little while what I'm adding. Right? What is the thing that's going to be my thing? What's my new thing? And then, am I carrying myself like somebody who has already achieved? Someone who's already efficacious? Am I carrying myself like that? Or is my head hung, my shoulders bent? When people look at me, do they see the version of me that is currently here? Or are they looking at an old version? A version that was not sure, was not confident, who didn't have data, right? That proves that this is who I am, right? You got that now, right? So use it. It is your collateral. So what are some things that we could do to train our actions to match our identity? What are some things that we can do? Because after all, theory is theory, but when the rubber meets the road, right here, right now, what is it going to be? Right, this isn't like fake it till you make it. That's not what I'm talking about. What we're talking about is align it until you own it. Get the things that you do to be aligned with who you say you are, to be aligned with the places that you say you're going, until you can own, right? Until you can own where you are and you can own the data that you've created, right? So align it until you own it. So grab a pencil paper. Let's walk through this. Let's say, well, these are some things, right? So number one, we are finishers, right? Those are actions that align with who I say I am. So if I'm gonna start something, I'm gonna finish it. Back to the conversation I had earlier about being asked to do something. One of the reasons was I knew that what would be required of me would take me off course. And if I didn't go off course for what I am currently doing, then I wouldn't finish it. So I couldn't do it because I'm a finisher. Notice that the decision was not necessarily about the thing. The decision is about me. The decision was about the actions of someone who is efficacious. People who are efficacious, they finish stuff. So if you're asking me to do something that is going to derail me and possibly make me not finish, then that's not something I can do because I am a finisher. Efficacious people reset. Yeah, we talked about that. They course correct. This didn't go, but hey, we're starting over. This is not what I thought it was going to be, but let's do it. Come on, let's move. We're not staying here anymore. We're not staying in this position. We're not staying in this posture anymore, right? So efficacious people, they reset. They speak kindly to themselves. Those are actions. We speak kindly to ourselves. Efficacious people don't give up at 80%. We don't give up just before our breakthrough happens. Now, we may decide to change, and we've talked about evaluating whether this is still where you need to be, and just whether your North Star statement needs to change. All of that we've talked about. This is not what I'm talking about. This is here in this space. You've decided that's the case, and we're not giving up at 80%. We're not giving up right before my breakthrough happens. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep evaluating. We're going to keep changing. And we may need to go back and reevaluate, but once we do that, then that's a whole nother story. We may change at that point. But right now, this is not what we do. That's the person that you've built. And every action now that you do supports that. It's either reinforcing that or it's replacing it. Everything that you do at this point is saying, okay, this is the person that I am, and I'm just reinforcing this. I'm making this better. I'm pushing it further. Or it's replacing it with something that you may not want in your wheelhouse. So make sure that we're doing what we do and we are supporting the person that we have become. So let's talk about some identity-driven habits. Identity-driven habits. These are some simple identity-aligned thoughts that I want you to begin using and incorporating. Right? And they're simple things. And so for some of you, you're like, oh, that's not going to make a difference. But here it is. It does make a difference. Number one, I make my bed every day because it is a sign of order. I make my bed every day because it's a sign of order. So years ago, my wife and I decided that we were going to make the bed. So whoever got up first, or whoever got up last, right, had to make the bed. Now I'm wondering now, maybe that's why she jumps out of bed every morning before me. But that's a whole nother conversation. I need to go find that out. But have you ever walked into a bedroom and everything else is neat, but the bed is not made? It looks disordered, right? And remember, order is a big component of our thoughts. If our thoughts are cluttered, then our lives can be cluttered. And so your bed signals that there's some order, that you took time this morning to put something in order to keep you going in the right direction. I walk every day to remind myself that, hey, how are you? I walk every day to remind myself that I'm in motion. I walk every day to remind myself that I'm in motion. We'll be talking about the Limitless Living Health Action Plan, and part of it is movement, right? Walking. And that says that I'm on the move. I'm not just sitting on the couch. I'm not just stagnant. I am moving. I'm going in a direction. I drink water to reflect how I care for myself. Now this one I'm gonna have to tell you, I'm gonna have to adopt this one, right? Because I drink water. I need to drink more. I shouldn't say I need to drink more. But yeah, so I make my bed. I walk because I'm in motion. I drink water because it is an example of how I care for myself. I prep food before I need it because I don't leave my health to chance. I don't leave my health to chance. I prep the food. It's not just going to happen whatever's around. I'm going to prep and make sure that I'm doing the things I need to do, right, to be healthy and to make good choices. I pause before I speak because I lead with clarity. We talked about the COPE model before, COPE, clarify, observe, pause, execute. That pause allows your prefrontal cortex to take over what the amygdala is about to say. Somebody says something that hurts your feeling, and the amygdala is ready to fight. And the prefrontal cortex has to say, wait. Let's process this for a little while. Let's pause, let's pull back, and let's understand what's going on before we speak. And then these aren't just tasks, they're evidence of who you are. So behavior-based or identity-driven habits that you've created, these are amazing. All right, and so we can't ever leave without our challenge. And this is an amazing conversation. This one I love this one because it's about behaving and showing up, even though sometimes we don't believe and we may still be working to incorporate this new version of ourselves into our everyday. But go ahead and grab your journal, because we have some writing that we're going to be doing. Because remember, everything that we do, we are creating a version of ourselves. We're creating a manual, and that's what our journal is. So number one, pick one action today that reinforces your belief. What's one thing that you can do that's going to reinforce who you say you are and reinforce the beliefs that you are building? It could be small. It could, like making your bed. Yeah. That could be one of the behaviors that reinforces it. But make it intentional, something that you're going to do, that you're going to intentionally do. You're going to step up and say, this is what I'm going to do every day. Make it yours. And when you do it, I want you to say out loud, I act like someone who believes because I am someone who follows through. I act like someone who believes because I am someone who follows through. Man. Self-efficacy is amazing. We can make changes if we make decisions, if we behave in a certain way, if we are consistent. Self-efficacy is not about waiting to feel powerful. It's not about waiting to feel certain. It's about choosing to act like someone who is already certain and already powerful. Amazing conversation. We are walking down this bridge, and tomorrow we're coming back with day number 108. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for Endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health, your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. Limitless Living says that we are not allowing anything to prevent us from doing what we need to do. We are moving, we are going, we're presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plans for our life. We'll see you tomorrow on day number 108. I'll see you on the walk.
Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode, and as we approach the end of our 100-day walk to consistency and health, I want to pause and invite you to look ahead. Because what we've built together is just the beginning of an even more powerful journey. Over the past 100 days, you've developed a habit. You've developed resistance, resilience. You've developed strength, and things that form the cornerstone of your success. Now, as we close this chapter, I'm excited to share that our next series is on the horizon that's going to build on everything that you've learned so far. In the upcoming series, we want to dive deeper into advanced strategies that harness your newly cultivated strengths, refine your mindset, and elevate your strategic thinking. Imagine transforming daily consistency into an unstoppable force that propels you to tackle even greater challenges with confidence. My vision for the next phase is simple: to empower you not only to sustain your current success, but to channel it into innovative strategies that drive you past these impacts that you've had to more lasting, more fulfilling impacts. We've explored how to leverage your inner strength and channel it into areas of leadership, creativity, and advanced personal growth. And we're going to go further. The habits you form are the foundation on which you can build a life of limitless potential. Every lesson, every win, every setback during the past 100 days has prepared you for what's next. Think of today as a bridge where the consistency and the discipline that you've mastered become a stepping stone towards a future when strategy meets mindset. In the next series, it's designed to help you integrate these principles to every aspect of your life, making your progress both sustainable and exponential. I invite you to stay tuned and actively participate as we embark on this new chapter. Reflect on your journey so far and consider the way that you can take these lessons to the next level. Let's step into the future together. Thank you for being part of this transformative journey. Your growth, resilience, and commitment are what this community needs. Get ready to embrace the next series, where your strengths, strategy, and mindset will propel you to even greater heights. Stay tuned, and I'll see you as we begin this exciting new chapter together.